Good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of the Men's Lounge. Last week, we were here to discuss gambling. We looked at the pros and cons, why people gamble and all of that. And we saw the importance of the fact that we needed to have that discussion. And today we'll be looking at something that is on the same line as gambling. But before I proceed, let me just urge you all to join us on all our social media platforms at ETV Ghana. The WhatsApp line today is open from the start. A lot of you had questions last week that you couldn't put through. I urge you to start even pushing them now. At some point in the program, we'll also open the lines and we'll invite you to call and then make your submission. So at ETV Ghana on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of the places at ETV Ghana, you can find us. And also the WhatsApp line is 020-2222-054. The week has been tough for all of us. There's been a lot of things happening. One most important thing I like to tell you about is the road accidents. Please, let's try as much as possible. Pedestrians, drivers, motor riders, whoever you are, let's be a bit more vigilant and let's keep to the laws of the country. Let's go on this break. When we're back, I'll introduce my guest. We'll talk about the topic and then we can move on to the discussion. Please stay with us. Back, if you're just joining us, we are in the lounge already. Of course, it's a Thursday evening, and as far as it's 9 p.m., you know we're going to come your way with very, very, very interesting discussion. So, like I said earlier, last week we started the topic on gambling, and today we are looking at gambling addiction. Gambling addiction. We spoke about it. We looked at why people gamble and all that. But today we're actually delving into the addiction. Okay, what the addiction is causing to people. Now, today I'm going to be in the studio with Scoffrey Nana Yeboah. Scoffrey Nana Yeboah happens to be a transformational coach, certified professional trainer. Scoffrey won't be here alone at some point. Doctor will join us. I'll tell you about Doctor before. I mean, he's the regular, our own man, Dr. Newman. He'll be joining us. But for now, I have Scoffrey with me. Scoffrey.
Hello.
Akwaba.
Yeah.
How was the week?
Hello. For God and country.
For God and country, yeah. We move, we survive. What else can we do? I mean, you don't have a choice.
No.
It's once a yawu bema there. You have to move. That's what it is. So last week we had a discussion. I was here with two other folks of ours. We had a discussion on gambling, and today we want to look at the addiction. Do you gamble?
No.
You haven't tried gambling?
No. I keep telling my friends that if I even stand with you to see you configure whatever you are doing, either you are beaten by one or you'll be beaten less by one. So for me, anywhere gambling take place, I cannot be there.
But you know, there's the fun part of it. Okay, let's bet. Let's do. I mean, sometimes it's the fun part of it, obviously, but now it's become a totally different ball game.
The human frame up, I think when it comes to the biology, I'll leave it to Doc when he come. But coming from the school of ontology, which is the first school of philosophy, we believe that we say ontology is basically the beingness of everything.
Of everything, yeah.
Okay, so the beingness of the human being, where we are designed with a certain chemical we call dopamine, from which comes our drive,
okay,
motivation, things that gives you pleasure, things that give you excitement. So because we are inherently wired with such chemicals, where I, from the ontology point, will say it is part of the signature of our beingness.
Yeah.
It comes so natural that there are things that when you do, it stimulates you. It gives you a certain level of excitement. It gives a certain of wanting to take some moderate risk, wanting to dare do some stuff.
Yeah.
So it is the same part of us that goes into, that triggers us want to gamble. It can start just like a social thing, boys. So my family, so let's. The moment you move into the point where it becomes more like a consistent occupation, sometimes we say that people go into those spaces because there is a void within that they are looking for something to feel.
Yeah.
So and because the feeling of, let's say, the person might not be doing drugs or alcohol, but because it's the same chemical that creates the addiction to all those hard substances, you say, okay, I do that for a certain drive of excitement. I do this because perhaps it is boredom, it is loneliness. Sometimes it is sheer a despondency where there is lack of a clear future you want to go into. So then you begin to get those drives, and before you realize, it has taken over you.
Yeah.
That's what addiction takes me, because now your body got used to the threshold of the dopamine. Okay, then the body is used to now. So it wants to move a step further to increase the thrill and the chill and the feel. Then you want
it
to...
never gets enough.
It never gets enough. So at a time will come, you realize that, wow, now you don't have enough of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You want to do more things, to want to dare. But you don't know you have gone beyond that. And because this is a legal exercise or legal practice, you don't know when you have crossed your personal limit. And when it grabs you and you don't meet the therapists or the clinicians, maybe perhaps when somebody prompts you that, Jack, then you can begin, you even begin to fight your friends because that thing has not taken place. You begin to have mood swing because, Charlie, if it's this bet one, what happened between Man U and Alata Seminano? So what you say? Then you go like, it trips you, it flips you.
Yeah.
So before you realize, because of that single activity, a part of your social being gets tilted, gets alterated. People who used to get close to realize that something is occurring, but they can't pinpoint because it is not the hard drugs or alcohol or substance. They can easily see you doing it easily. People cannot tell, and you yourself, you cannot see. So the addiction of gambling is real, and I keep saying gambling is one of the oldest things that human beings have evolved, and there are others too, due to some pathological and other hereditary stuff. You wouldn't know that you have something that is a disorder to gambling. You wouldn't know until you start.
I'm sure there will be a lot of such details we'll find out, especially when Doctor also joins us. I mean, the fact is that gambling has become a very big problem in this country, really, and it's growing. I mean, with a growing number of betting companies and casinos springing up, it's becoming more like an epidemic. I mean, if care is not taken, and it will overwhelm us in the future. It's something we really, really need to look at, so that our future young men, or our young men today, who happens to be our future tomorrow, wouldn't get their future dashed. I mean, that's the best I can put it. Let me just link to today's man. You know, on the Men's Lounge, we always want to give you some tips on your investment and everything. Let's watch this. We'll be back shortly. All right, so you need to understand the difference between investing and then speculating. It's very important when it comes to looking for where and what to put your money into. Don't just think, it is find out, okay, and invest into the right, should I say, securities or whatever you call it. It's very important. So, Doctor has actually joined us, Dr. Newman Arthur, medical doctor and clinical psychologist. And Doc, Akwaaba.
Yeah.
Akwaaba once again.
I'm sorry for coming late.
I haven't asked you any question. I said Akwaaba once again.
Let me say before you ask why.
So
some issues.
it's okay. It's okay. I mean, the week has been really tough for a lot of us, and so it's
yes.
understandable. It's very.
Yes.
I mean, Scofield alluded to that. Myself, it's been such a week, very very hectic one.
Yes.
But we'll see. Once you are born a man, baby, so you just keep moving. You don't have a choice. Okay. So last week we had a discussion on gambling, and today we are looking at the addiction. And now that you are here, Scofield started. Scofield has given us a lot of. What was the word? This anthology. Ontology. Yes.
We look at things from different perspectives.
So I'm glad you're here, so we can look at it also from a doctor's perspective. But let's just start. Why do people gamble?
Well, I think that there are various. You can't treat individuals the same. You would have to look at people case by case, and that's the problem we have. So people's issues are not general issues; they are specific. So people have different reasons why. Some people, it starts off as curiosity. They just want to be, just curious. They've heard about it. They just want to try it out. So they do that. Some people too, it's one of the ways of de-stressing. So probably they meet some friends and they want to de-stress. Then also some people, it may be a reflection of deeper problems. So they may have some depression or anxiety or, like I said, stressful situations. Some even bipolar and all that. So behind an addictive behavior, we call something an addiction tree. What it means is that you see a tree, it has the stems above the earth, it has trees, right? But the roots you can't see. It can be as deep as you can imagine. Sometimes even you have a tree, you may think it's short, but you dig, and the root is really down there. Yeah. So the root is the problems, the reason why people, start some addictive behaviors. So if you just look at the tree, you may not notice that there's a root. Okay. So the root cause of addictive behaviors may be because they have some challenges, they want to just cope with life situations here and there. And because of that, they're actually using some addictive, behaviors, to actually cope with whatever situations they may find themselves. Then addiction has its own biological basis. There are things that people get addicted to because those things have the potential of being addictive. So we drink water every day, but we don't get addicted to water. We eat some foods every day, we don't get addicted to foods. But there are certain activities that stimulate certain areas of the brain, so they have the potential of, creating that addictive patterns. So for example, so for me, if I start, smoking marijuana or cocaine or heroin, or start gambling, regardless of who I am, I'm on my way to addiction. I hope you understand. So it has nothing to do with who the person is, but also the potential of that thing, changing brain areas and some physiological processes in the body, so that the body actually becomes dependent on it. So addictive, activities and substances have in itself the ability to cause addiction. So people get addicted to things, probably not even because of those issues, but the fact that those things have in itself, the potential of being, addictive. That is why we don't get addicted to a lot of things.
Okay.
We get involved in a lot of things on a daily basis.
We don't get addicted
because those things do
to
not have the
things.
potential of causing addiction.
I see. So when can we say someone has a gambling problem or is addicted to gambling? At what point can we say that, look, this guy has a gambling problem, he's addicted to gambling? So
addiction, three things. When it's compulsive, what it means is that they're pushed to do it and they kind of not able to hold themselves back. Three is repetitive. Repetitive means that they keep doing it over and over and over again, and they seem not to be able to have control over that. Then three, it is actually impairing their functioning and affecting everything around them. It may be causing some personal distress or dysfunction or damage to everything around their work, their school, their everything around them, their finances is going down. Everything around them because of the gambling is being affected. I knew someone who has spent about 100,000 cedis just, on gambling.
Hey.
Just betting. And so it's affecting their relationships, affecting them, but they seem not to stop. That is when you realize that there's a problem. There are people who gamble once in a while. It's really not affecting them. They really, not really, occasionally they do it and it's not really affecting them.
They just gamble away the excess they have. It's not something that they really want.
We're not saying that is addictive. It may be excess money, but it's still, when it's still compulsive, it's still an addiction, but the impact is dependent on who you are. If you have $1 billion and once in a while you spend, you spend like $1 million, it's really nothing because you have $1 billion. But if that thing is actually repetitive, compulsive, and affecting other areas of your life, not just finance, it means you're addicted to it.
Scoffrey.
Yes, just to add to what Doc said, from where we look at things, we are not just robots, and things evolve to what happens around us, which is the environment, all have a way that it can cause you to want to go into certain waters to test if you want to swim is a river, whether it's a stream, whether it's the sea itself, or even a pool. So, like Doc said, which that's why I said I would want Doc to come to address those stuff so that I don't take his job. They are clinicians; it's their job there.
Take my job, I'm tired. Take my job, I'm tired.
I don't want to take his job. Mine is big enough, so he should enjoy it. So that's what we want to look at, the being of the person.
Okay.
Okay, we will want to ask varied questions. We will want to ask, how did you get here? And the root, as he said, is quite critical. So, for instance, if somebody signed up for coaching and through sessions you observe that some things are very repetitive, like he said, they are choice of words. We don't see words as accident. They are our language is our creative being. So then we can tell something else more is to that. That is where a coach will quickly say, okay, I want to refer you to a clinician. I've observed A, B, C, D throughout the first 5 sessions or 6 sessions, and I think we need a clinical attention. So gambling, it, like we said, it could be the social one. Charlie Manchester, well, this one we go win by all means. So this one, 100. I mean, in the force work, okay, the cat will beat the dog, that kind of one. It is the fanfare, it is the social aspect of it. It is done, we are gone. Nothing connected, nothing again. The only connection will be the teasing you that the last time this one happened and stuff. But when other essence begins, you sleep and you think about it. A certain discomfort towards how come you couldn't win begins to trigger. Or maybe there is a lack, there is a need and a want, there is a vacuum, there is a void. And let's say a boy who never had the supervision of a father. In the beginning, we won't see all these things. These are sometimes some of us are very conscious about these things that happen in our society. So to be able to feel something, it can just generate into this act of gambling. It starts by the 50 pesos. And we say that it is an act that when you are done and the scores are not in, there's a certain level of anxiety. To some, that anxiety thrills. It keeps them in there. The frenzy keeps them in there. To some, it's an excessive uneasiness that they can't do without. And that same person who has cast the lotto or bet will now want to go to the blue kiosk, top up, and is awaiting the results. So before you realize, that is how come people who are addicted to gambling are also addicted to some mostly hard substance. This is how, because when that chemical called dopamine begins to release those motivation and stuff, because the result is not yet in, you want something, even if sustain it, just something to, okay, let me break it off a sort, like, okay, or then Miss Virginia, or then Miss Steady Kakra, and gradually it becomes like Chifona Pan isn't tea. You see, the balance sets in. So before you realize, most gamblers to their core are also addicted to some hard substance. Okay. So we look at the individual, so that we analyze. And funny enough, if you look at the work of the feeling and the work of the brain, they are so unique. So your feeling takes you into it, then your logical brain is supposed to bag. So Jack, because that feeling increases, you lose that logical part of it that is supposed to bag it. And funny enough, that our conscious brain is the smallest of all when you compare it to the unconscious part. So before you realize, that becomes an attitude. Before you realize, you do it without even thinking. That is the part I'm saying is taken away, or it goes dormant. So this is how, from our point of view, say the beingness of gambling, if you evoke it here, you will do it out there.
I see. Doc, at what point do we draw the line?
Or you draw the line if it's affecting you. And you would have to come to a point, realization that it's affecting you.
You realize, because the thing is,
so
going
people,
on and going on and going on.
So people deny,
and when people tell you, you even feel like they're fighting
so people deny. You see, let me probably make 1 or 2 comments about this, just to bring some clarity. You see, the gambling, those who design gambling and all the things in gambling, everything about gambling stimulates certain areas of the brain that makes people get hooked to it. So there are all kinds of reward systems in the brain, right? And all kinds of neurochemicals. He mentioned dopamine, which is one of the major chemicals that is released in all addictive behaviors. And so the euphoria, the sense of reward, all those reward, systems, plus the part of the brain that is responsible for impulsivity. Like, for example, if you want to do something, you think about it and say, no, this is not appropriate, I want to stop, And also cognitive functions like your judgment and all that. All those areas are affected when it comes to gambling. All those areas. So even how gambling is designed, so the uncertainty about obtaining a reward, affects those brain areas. The risk taking, the willingness and the urge to take risk affects those brain areas. The near losses and the near wins, like, hey, I almost lost, hey, I almost win. Those things actually stimulate, and affects those brain areas. Then also, if you look at even how they design it, the pictures, the lightnings, everything about gambling, the colors and everything, because there's actually a connection between all your senses, including your eyes and brain areas, and they are all involved. So those who design gambling, I'm sure they even went to see some scientists or some people to actually fashion out how the whole thing is.
That's some people, that is the business. How to design, like the color therapy, or what we used to support, they also used to design. It's just like recently, like economics have entered engineering. Why your certain poster has an effect on you, all that. So it's the same thing.
So the design of it, then you win. Then also the brain actually registers every experience.
True.
So when you lose, now you have to find out, why did I lose? And when you are doing all those evaluations, you're actually promoting, your body's ability to actually go back to it again. So everything around it is actually meant to, make you addicted to it. It's just like when you pick, heroin or cocaine or marijuana, all those chemical, components actually stimulate certain brain areas that makes you addicted to it. A time comes that your body becomes so hooked to it that if you actually don't do it, your body actually responds to it. That's what we call withdrawal symptoms, when you become very, very uneasy, confused, like if you don't do it, something is going to happen to you and stuff like that. When you get to that point, it means that you're really, at a point where you actually need help to stop. Otherwise, it continues.
I see. So then it's not like there's a particular time to draw the line. You should just draw the line. I mean,
if you are gambling right now, you have to start drawing the line. You see, one of the principal ways to actually deal with addictive behaviors is not to start at all.
Not even started.
Not even started.
And I'm safe. I've never tried it.
So for example, if let's say the Archbishop decides to start gambling today, a time is going to be addicted. Not because of who he is, but because he started an addictive, something that can be addictive. If I start smoking right now, marijuana, a time will come, I'll be in a rehab or something. Just because marijuana itself has the potential of being, causing some addiction. So those things, so that is why we don't actually moralize some of these addictive stuff. Now we know there's a whole study on addiction. Addiction is a major mental health issue now.
I was actually going to come to that.
Yes, addiction is mental health. Mental health is basically your thinking, feelings, and behavior. Finish. Addiction is a major thing now. There are all kinds of studies, and now because of technology and internet and social media and stuff like that, it's made gambling even more serious than other things that is hard to get. When it comes to marijuana, cocaine, and stuff like that, it's kind of hard to get. But gambling, you just have to be, and it's legal. You just have to be in your room, click on some buttons here and there, and you're there.
So who is most likely, to gamble?
Like Doc said, basically anybody at all is likely to gamble. You see, the way we were talking about, like if you watch movies, the cock and the hen, okay, to somebody that is his stimulator, that is his trigger. And I got $10 out of that. The fanfare that I got $10, and the brain recorded the thrill and the feel that I got $10. The next time it wouldn't be two cock fighting. It could be something else. And we all get attracted to gambling in various forms and shapes. We all. Have you asked yourself why people get hooked onto phone games?
I play a lot of phone games.
Okay. So you see when you play the and you feel fun and
I think this game came up and it was very addictive. Zuma.
Zuma. Yes.
Yeah.
So was very, very
in,
addictive.
in various offices, people will actually shop.
Okay, so you see, because this one does not have a direct money betting, we won't see that as we get addicted to that. It's the same thing. It's the same play. So even what makes it more worse is the phone, because of the excessive light of the screen, where it cuts short your serotonin that allows you to, that's supposed to get you to sleep. Okay.
Really?
Yes, that excessive light that's supposed to allow you to sleep. It cuts all that off. So before you realize, it's not only the gambling that makes you suffer, because chalupa so you are now screening up, then gradually you even lack sleep. So we all, everybody, and I'm happy about the example you cited, the Pope or the priest or the bishop.
If you dare start.
If you dare start, and for all you know, we are all battling some, one way or the other, something that is similar to gambling.
Anyway, there's a lot to talk about. Let's go on this break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back if you're just joining us. We are still on the talk, discussing gambling and specifically the addiction to gambling. Today I'm still here with Dr. Newman Arthur and then my good friend Scoffrey, and we're doing justice to the topic. What are the effects of gambling?
Let me do the easy one so that you see what I say, what I'm saying.
The effects of gambling.
Well, we look at, especially mental health. There are four, if you want to talk about something, effects of something, 4 levels. 4 Ds. We use 4 Ds. 1, distress. What it means, it causes them personal distress. You know, there is some kind of emotional turmoil because of all the things that some of them are aware, and all of them are aware that it's a problem, but to actually acknowledge it, that is where the problem is. Because people actually don't want to come to terms with the fact that they are addicted to something. It's quite difficult. So there is some kind of distress. 2, dysfunction. What it means that they can't function normally. So they wake up in the morning, they are preoccupied with the gambling, they may get hooked to things, you know. So dysfunction, they are able to function well. Because of activities of daily living, you know, you wake up, you have to go bath, you have to go do this, that. Then also damage to everything around you. Your work is affected, your school is affected, your finances is affected, your relationship is affected. Because if one partner is addicted and the other is not, it means that the impact on that person is affecting everything. You know, imagine your money is growing and family, you can't provide food now, you can't, even the time to get for family and size is gone. Time for your books and everything. So that makes you everything around you. Then also deviation from social norms. And that's the last D. Deviation from social norms. What it means is that your presence in any social space can be very destructive. And also, if they are home, they may actually, now research has even shown that those who are abusive, you know, gambling, you know, is linked to abusive relationships. Because gambling is a stressor. Yeah. And that stressor can be the trigger for abusive relationships. So all social dysfunction, so crime-related problems is associated with gambling. Some research has shown more than about 60 or 70% of, you know, people who are gamble are also involved in some crime-related problems, you know, and all that. So crime issues and addiction to other kind of, you know, things like marijuana, cocaine, and stuff like that. They are all kind of interlinked with addictive behavior. So social interaction and social space issues is also affected because of gambling, you know. Then also now it can go to health-related problems, you know, because of all the stresses here and there. Like I told you, there may be some co-conditions that may be associated with that, like depression, anxiety, even what you call bipolar and stuff like that. You know, it's all, you know, around the same thing. Even now, post-traumatic stress, you know, disorder has been linked to gambling and all that. So it's a major thing. For me, as a professional, I actually do not associate, you know, all kinds of moral judgment and issues with things that are clearly on the level of mental health. There's some moral issues with it, but the moment you put up a moral front, you actually are not able to look beyond the behavior and actually find out why. If you go into the why, then you understand why people do that. Though we don't justify what is happening, it's clearly a problem. But you always have to look beyond that and seek help instead of judgment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people actually need help to come up with, different problems.
Scoffy.
Well, I think what I will add to what Doc said is I will look at the total you, the total individual. We say that we are not here just by accident. We are not just to come and live and die and go. So when there is a shift in your total being, you have created a shift in a lot of generations. So if you are a father and there is a shift from being responsible dad, and because of gambling, you have shifted the lives of your kids, your home, your job, then your individual health. You see, I think Offset, Doc raised something. When you study neuroplasticity and you want to understand the congruence between three parts of, we call it the three brains, okay? When there is excessive irrational excitement, okay, the part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, where logics actually take place, okay, that pressure, okay, puts pressure on the tissues or the vessels that carry blood to that aspect of your brain. That does the logics, that could prompt you that this ain't good. We have reached our threshold. You make it lose blood in that area. And when it is done over a period of time, it means that the absence of blood in that part of the brain begins to create difficulty with your brain. Sometimes to even the guts, where we start from your mouth through to your intestine, when those things take place, it shrinks your intestine. It forces them to shrink. And when it becomes a pattern, you begin to have stomach aches that they'll put you under scanning machine. They won't find the ulcer, they won't find anything. But until you meet others who want you to prompt and check even the size of your intestine, realize that they've all begun shrinking. Because the excessive anxiety, why do you feel a lot of anxiety? It's in our guts. That's where anxiety comes from. So that is how damaging that to us from the ontological or coaching faculty we look at. And when these all things occur, we lose the human of you. And because we are relational beings, when we lose you, you are in existence, but in quote, you are a waste.
You are gone.
It cuts that continuity, that impact you're supposed to have on me positively for us to drive into the greater future. So that is how, and let me push this further. In certain jurisdictions, because of their system, it's very slim for you to steal to gamble if you are below 18. It's very slim for you to steal to gamble. But in our part of the world, where the system is for everything, so the child order he needs is to connect his senior brother's Momo number to the bet, and he's able to do it and everything. In other jurisdictions, you have it. So that's how come we are preparing, we are incubating some danger in the next 10 years. So have you checked that our young ones, even in GSS to senior high school, they love to have all the fanfare, but they really don't want to go through a certain structure and processes to really make money and earn.
Yeah.
Because now the easier route is gambling.
And it's even much easier because it's so close to them in their
Exactly,
phones.
it's on the phone. And I've already explained, aside the gambling aspect, the excessive light of the phone. And like Doc said, I agree. A lot now, economists have entered into technology. There are psychologists whose job is to make sure that they use all those psychological principles, all this inside that Doc and code they use to support us. Now there are others, it's just like the one who creates virus and antivirus for phones and for the computers. So it is a competition of ideas in making sure some people who have invested money cope it. But the damage goes back to the individual. And don't say, oh, it's my life. Nobody's life is for himself or her alone. If you are a mother, how can that be your life? If you are a father, how can you say it's my life?
Well, it has that generational effect.
Yeah, everything's affected.
But Doc, how do we control the edge? I mean, seeing that, Charlie, I'm getting there. How do you control?
So I said earlier on that the most effective ways to control.
Don't even go into it. That
Don't
I
start
get.
that at all.
Don't start at all. So that's the first one.
Okay, so yes.
So I'm telling someone not to start. maybe the person has planned on going to start, but don't start it. If you start, it's difficult to stop. And second, you need to come to the point of realization that you have a problem. That is the beginning point. You need to actually accept that I have a problem. Then also you start taking steps to stop it. You know, and some of the steps, maybe let me mention it quickly. One, you need to have a healthy perception about your problem. You need to see an addiction. One of the perceptions that you have to see it as the it's a health issue and not really a moral or a judgment kind of issue. The moment you think that way, you run away from help. And especially when you have a perception that God is angry with you. You know, when people have, these kind of addictive behaviors, one of the things they think about, they feel very guilty and very, very bad, that they think that God is angry with them. So that perception has to change. The same way someone has a problem which is called hypertension, his is called addiction. And they are all health issues. One is more on mental health, one is more on physical health, though they are all linked. So you have a health problem. So that perception actually helps people seek help. It starts from there. If they don't have a healthy perception about what is happening to them, and they keep judging themselves, blaming themselves, feeling overly guilty about it, moralizing it, or even making it too spiritual, it actually affects them. And I know people who are really addicted to things, and they will spend time pray and pray and pray and pray, and it's not, and after all the prayers, then they come to us. Then I tell them that the Bible is very holistic, and if you think that it's spiritual, no problem, seek help too. So the approach and the mindset about it is very important. Then too, you need to actually limit, or what do you call it? Expose it. Exposing it means that you need to actually confide in someone who can help.
Talk about it.
And that can be one of your first places is a professional, like for himself and people like us.
Yeah.
A professional, not just friends who actually can't do anything about it. The problem is that people talk to the wrong people, and sometimes they make it very worse. So they actually have to seek, some kind of professional
health.
Someone who can help. Then also they need to actually use other things to cope with the edges. So maybe you have an edge to go gamble, and behind that edge is a need. Use healthier ways to actually fix those needs instead of using gambling. And every desire dies away with time when you starve it. It's one of the principles in addiction management. The moment, that's why we even have rehab centers. For gambling, people will say go to rehab, like alcohol and stuff like that. But sometimes rehab helps because rehab actually separates you from those, access to those things. Keeps you in an environment where you can have focus and attention on yourself so that you can actually heal. Because it takes time. And the problem is not really stopping, but restarting. Because when you stop, people can have relapse here and there. Then also they may have to deal with their social network that influences that addictive behaviors. So if, for example, you have friends who come and call you all the time, you need to actually, isolate yourself from them. Then activities and, opportunities to actually get involved in those behaviors. You may have to take practical steps to deal with it.
Off.
So if it's an app, you need to actually, what do you call it? Remove that app from your phone. Even if you download it again, keep deleting it until you don't download it again.
Okay.
And you need to persevere. It requires a lot of perseverance. Today I fall, the next day I write, I fall again, I write, I fall. A time will come, you realize you are not falling too much. So some of these basic things, then also distract yourself with activities that are more useful. So when you focus on your goals and purpose here and there, also, so these are some of the self-help skills. In addition to what do you call it, the professional help. When you seek professional help, we are going to assess you all the risks involved. And if there are any underlying problems like depression, anxiety, PTSD and all those things, bipolar and stuff like that, then we can actually help manage those things so that we can reduce your triggers and your risk of going back to those addictive behaviors.
I see. Scoffrey, I'm going to come to you. I mean, you both actually, but starting with you, I want to know, so seeing that, of course, there are a lot of young people now, because of the ease of getting close to this gambling stuff, are getting into it. How do we reform these ones? Some of them, look, if you have met some of them, you know they are gone. I want us to look at how we reform these ones. But before we go, let me take this from, this is coming from Kofi Abroka. Kofi says, good evening, Danaya. I really miss you guys. I greet your panelists on the show. I think this is a great opportunity for me to share my thoughts on the rising issues of gambling addiction. I think the influx of gambling companies and the massive involvement of the youth is as a result of their lack of direction. Most of the youth are getting involved and addicted to gambling because of financial success. We need to take every opportunity to direct their minds, the minds and mindset of our youth on the ways they can achieve real success. Well, sorry for that. No, it's not a long message. I think what you've said is very, very important. And thank you, Kofi, for sending us this message. So, how do we begin to reform these ones? I'm trying not to say fight, but how do we fight it? Because for me, honestly, I see it as a menace that is staring at us. 5 years, 10 years to come, I don't think it's going to be that easy for us. Well, how do we begin to tackle the situation?
I think that when conversations like this start, it is a signal that the future is revealing to us. This is my area of practice. So for us, nothing is by accident. When conversations like this begins to commence, the future is sending a signal to us what it is possible to occur. And there are realistic challenges that is pushing these young people in doing what they are doing. If you assemble 100 university students, they are in uni, and you ask them after school what next. And these 100 university students are so despondent into the aftermath of schooling. You have set them up into gambling as a state. So the unemployment saga we are going through, it's our number one trigger to gambling. The unemployment threshold that we are talking about. Then also, our system of education. If you look at our education, we are doing wholesale, like mass production. Education is not occurring. Education where the person is able to look at his or her life and create some reforms and create some structures and model a tomorrow. We are not educating.
One of my friends will call it education.
Exactly.
Education, not education.
So people are just going through pipes.
Yeah.
So when you hold this conversation, it's as if, it can't be. It's until your child. And now if marijuana is commencing at JHS, okay, because I did GSS, so I'm always, at JHS level, gambling is also taking place there. At least the upper primary, class 6. So until this conversation, it is not the proliferation of the betting. If there is profit, that means the market is there. That is how come they are spreading.
Yeah.
But if the market were not to be there, it would have been left to the casinos. Remember that when we were growing up, those small areas where police could raid there and arrest people.
Yeah.
But they don't go to the casino, because even the casino, there's a way you must dress, there's a way you must be before you're allowed in. But this day and age, because the market is there, the young people have nothing doing. They have nowhere going in life. They have no aspirations, and I don't blame them. If you are in their shoes like we were in our era, Master, you have nowhere you want to go. So it is a government policy intervention. Okay, where you grew up, there would have been about 6 or 5 football pitches where the young people would have exerted their energy playing football just to kill. You see, that was it. When there is a void, something will fill it. So instead of wanting to do this, we want to fill it with exercise. All our football pitches have been turned into estate or supermarket. So the young boy and the young girl, all that they've got. And like Doc said, gambling have associates, which is hard substance. So it is not only gambling. So if you want to curb the other excesses, you want to curb gambling. So it is a holistic, integrative approach that we need. And I also want to say to parents, listen, government does not own your child. The first owner of the child is you, the parent. So if you don't choose to be responsible and try your best that the difficulty in the next 20 years to come, at least your kids will be raised with some level of resilience to sail through. I'm sorry, they're already gone. Especially when you are not there when they are fidgeting with their phone.
Well, that's a lot said in one long line. Doc, you are taking the last bite, but before we do that, and I'll need you to talk about, I read some article on suicide, and I saw that about close to 50% is related to gambling. Now, I need you to speak on that. But before we go, let me give you this from Cheesy Pizza. Pass by, pick a pizza home. I'll call your wife and ask her whether you sent it home.
Okay, you know one.
And so, Doc.
Yeah, yes. So I think we forgot to add. It's one of the very, very important.
Yeah.
Because you see, gambling has its own problems. Finance and everything around you is affected. Addictive behaviors. You know, like I said, it may be related to other medical conditions.
Yeah.
So if someone has depression and they go into gambling, the gambling may add on to their depression. If they don't have depression and they go into gambling, the issues around gambling may tip them into depression. You know, so it's either, you know, so it's one of the major risk factors for suicide and suicide-related problems.
I see.
Yes.
What would be your advice for the young ones out there? Because then, like I said earlier, my biggest problem is the young ones.
You know, I think there was another, you know, research about the fact that if, what do you call it, they start early, the earlier they start, the more difficult it is for them to stop. You know, so if they start, you know, now I've realized that the critical age for the formation of anything starts from age 7 to 12. That period is very critical. 7 to 12, very, very critical. Most of the behavior that becomes difficult to stop, it starts around that time.
Absolutely.
You know, so I think parents would have to be parents.
Yeah.
Parents. Now, kids are not being raised by parents again. They are raised by nannies and stuff like that, who may even have their own issues. So, if you don't take care of your child now, you will spend the next, you know, 30 years of their lives trying to help them become what you feel to help them become.
So to wrap up with Doc, let's keep healthy relationships.
Okay. Okay.
Keep friends who are interested in your tomorrow, who will inspire you and believe in you, so you don't cut corners. Keep, if it is lovey too, keep healthy lovey because you can't so keep somebody who will inspire you, a lady who will inspire you, a guy who will inspire you,
and not add to your stress.
Exactly. Because this is all what, if more pressure or last
week we found out that the women were even gambling more than the men,
and they had more risk.
Yes,
the women had more risk.
Well, unfortunately, there isn't much time that we could go into this, but I'd love that we talk about the risk, especially when it comes to the women. Maybe another time we'll find time and come back and make talk about it really, really well. So thank you guys for passing through today for us to have this discussion. I'm very grateful, guys. Well, there's a lot we've heard today about gambling, especially the addiction, what it happens and what it can cause. Well, you've heard a lot already. I won't add too much to it. Let's just stay away from it if you have not even started at all. And if you have, please find a way. You see, keep a healthy relationship. Let's cut it off. Kakra. We'll get there. Before I go, you know our man Ebo JB. He's been in the lounge a couple of times. It's Ebo's birthday, so Ebo from the men's lounge, we're wishing you a happy birthday.
My pal too.
Yeah, it's your pal, eh?
Yeah.
Well, so yes.
Mine is 4th May.
Oh, yours is 4th May. We are coming to your home to celebrate. All right then. So thank you so much. My name is Nanaya Odami, your host, and we'll come your way next week with another exciting episode. Please stay blessed.